The ocean. Home to the most extreme habitats life has ever known. The Pacific. Earth's largest ocean, stretching across every extreme. Beneath these waves, another world waits, where light and pressure decide who survives. Our journey begins in the ocean's warmest waters, the coral reefs of the Pacific. This is Wild Pacific, a journey through the ocean's most extreme habitats.
Coral reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, yet hold a quarter of marine life.
Ocean temperatures here sit near 80 degrees, ideal for life, yet a fragile line. The clownfish, the only species safe among the anemone's venomous tentacles. A special mucus protects it, a partnership forged over millions of years beneath the sea. Not every resident here is gentle. The lionfish carries deadly venom in the sea. It doesn't chase, it corners, patiently, until there's nowhere left to go. The mimic octopus, a master of transformation beneath the sea. Survival here means strength in numbers, thousands moving as one across the ocean. But even unity can't stop the reef's top predator cutting through the sea. The reef shark, not a monster, but the balance keeper of this ecosystem. Even coral wages a silent, relentless war for space beneath the sea. They push back rivals millimeter by millimeter, in a battle lasting decades under the sea. The giant clam filters thousands of gallons of seawater daily to feed the reef. The sea turtle, an ancient traveler gliding these waters since before the dinosaurs.
Even it needs help, small cleaner fish keep it free of parasites.
The moray eel hides a second set of jaws deep in its throat beneath the sea. A lightning strike beneath the sea, over in less than half a second. Not every meeting is a battle. Here, predator and prey line up in peace. Even the sea's largest predators must lower their guard and trust. Silver barracuda move as a living tornado, a perfect collective defense at sea. Intelligence sometimes beats venom or speed, even at the bottom of the sea. The mantis shrimp owns the fastest strike in nature beneath the sea.
The strike generates heat rivaling the surface of the sun beneath the sea.
As the sun sets, the reef beneath the sea changes shifts to night hunters. This is the hour of the sea's quietest hunters. But this paradise is changing. Ocean temperatures are rising fast. Coral bleaching. When the sea warms just a degree, coral slowly dies. No color, no life, only a bleached skeleton at the bottom of the sea. When coral dies, an entire ocean ecosystem collapses within weeks. Even the clownfish finds nowhere left to call home beneath the sea. From above, hundreds of miles of coral beneath the sea are dying. Dissolved carbon is making the ocean acidic, eating away coral's skeleton. Humanity leaves its mark even at the bottom of the sea. 200 meters down, the sea grows cold, and sunlight barely survives. Scientists race against time, documenting every inch of loss beneath the sea. Even amid the wreckage at the bottom of the sea, life finds a way back. Humans are learning to repair the sea, one coral fragment at a time. In a few years, tiny fragments can revive an entire reef beneath the sea. Recovery is possible, but only if we act fast enough to save the ocean. Life, given the chance, always finds its way back to the sea. Even the ocean's most fragile places hold extraordinary strength. But this is only the beginning. The reef is the thinnest layer of the ocean. Beneath this warm light, the ocean hides worlds far deeper and darker. Where sunlight never touches the sea, darkness becomes the only law. Next, we descend into the ocean's twilight zone. That is part 2. We leave the sunlight behind. This is the ocean's twilight zone. 200 meters down, the sea grows cold, and sunlight barely survives. Soon, even that last trace of light disappears from the sea entirely. The hatchetfish hides its shadow, glowing softly to vanish into the sea. This trick, called counter-illumination, keeps it invisible from below the sea. The cookie-cutter shark lures larger animals close, then strikes in the open sea. Welcome to the midnight zone, where the sea makes its own light. The colossal squid, larger still, remains almost unseen in the deep sea. Its hooks can rotate, gripping prey firmly within the darkness of the sea. Some creatures grow far larger here, a mystery known as deep-sea gigantism. Cold, pressure, and scarce food shape strange giants across the deep sea. The Japanese spider crab, legs spanning meters, walks slowly through the sea. Color fades to white and silver, useless disguises in the lightless sea. Grace exists even here, in the coldest, darkest reaches of the sea. The deep sea holds its own galaxy, lit entirely by living creatures. Even here, in crushing pressure, life adapts and endures within the sea. Some mothers guard their eggs for years without eating, deep in the sea. A silent, patient devotion, hidden from the world at the bottom of the sea. Human explorers still map only a fraction of this hidden sea. Every sample reveals secrets the deep sea has kept for millions of years. New species appear in nearly every expedition into the deep sea. From a safe capsule, humans glimpse a world untouched by the sea's surface. Scientists believe most deep-sea creatures remain undiscovered beneath the ocean. We know the surface of Mars better than the floor of our own sea. Quiet instruments now listen around the clock to the pulse of the sea. Their calls can travel for miles through the cold silence of the sea. Here, the ocean has no ceiling of light left to hold on to. At this depth, the pressure could crush steel, yet life persists in the sea. Some creatures spray glowing clouds instead of ink to escape the sea's predators. Its bite leaves a perfect circular wound, a signature of the deep sea. Down here, creatures of the sea generate their own glow to survive. The anglerfish waits in the Black Sea, a living lantern and a trap. Curious prey mistake the light for safety in the vast, dark sea. In the deep sea, one flash of light can mean life or death. In the emptiness of the deep sea, some mates never let go. Even bacteria form partnerships to survive the darkness of the deep sea. Lanternfish rise nightly from the deep sea, the ocean's largest migration. Each night, this migration moves more life than any other event at sea. Their glow isn't decoration, it's camouflage against the moonlit sea above. Predators follow the migration upward, feasting under cover of the sea's night. The vampire squid, despite its name, is a gentle scavenger of the deep sea. When threatened, it flashes light instead of ink into the Black Sea. It can cloak itself in its own webbing, vanishing into the sea's shadows. The dragonfish sees red light, invisible to most creatures of the sea.
It hunts using a color no other predator can detect in the deep sea.
A secret weapon, evolved over millions of years beneath the sea. The comb jelly doesn't glow, it bends light itself within the sea. Thousands of tiny hairs ripple like a living prism deep in the sea. The siphonophore isn't one creature, but thousands, working as one in the sea. Each segment has a purpose, a colony surviving together in the deep sea.
It drifts silently, one of the longest animals in the entire sea.
The barrel-eye fish sees through its own skull into the Black Sea above. It watches for the faintest shadow, prey silhouetted against the deep sea. The fangtooth has the largest teeth for its size of any fish in the sea. In total darkness, a single bite decides survival in the deep sea. The gulper eel can swallow prey larger than itself in the deep sea. Down here, food is rare, so nothing in the sea is ever wasted. Even its tail becomes a tool for survival in the deep, dark sea. The giant squid's eye, the largest in the sea, hunts for the faintest glow. For centuries, sailors feared this creature of the deep sea, rarely ever seen. Even now, the giant squid remains one of the sea's greatest mysteries. The sperm whale dives deeper than any mammal, hunting in the Black Sea. It can hold its breath for over an hour beneath the deep sea. It listens for its prey, mapping the darkness of the sea by sound. Every scar tells a story of survival in the harshest part of the sea. They rest together after the hunt, drifting quietly at the edge of the sea.
This is marine snow, a constant slow rainfall through the deep sea.
Marine snow carries nutrients from the surface into the depths of the sea.
A single fallen body can feed an entire community of the deep sea.
The hagfish, an ancient scavenger, has thrived in the deep sea for eons.
When threatened, it chokes attackers with slime, an ancient trick of the sea.
A whale fall becomes an oasis of life at the bottom of the sea.
These boneworms exist nowhere else, thriving only within a fallen whale at sea. This single skeleton can sustain life in the deep sea for decades.
Even death, here, becomes the beginning of new life in the sea. This is a landscape most humans will never witness, deep beneath the sea. This is the volcanic heart of the sea, where fire meets the deepest ocean. This is the volcanic heart of the sea, where fire meets the deepest ocean.
These are black smokers, chimneys of superheated water rising from the seafloor.
These are black smokers, chimneys of superheated water rising from the seafloor.
Water here can reach 700 degrees, boiling beneath the crushing sea.
Just inches away, the sea turns near freezing, one of nature's sharpest contrasts. Minerals crystallize on contact, building these towering chimneys beneath the sea. No sunlight reaches here, yet this may be the birthplace of life in the sea.
Giant tube worms thrive here, rooted permanently to the floor of the sea. Its crimson plume absorbs chemicals invisible to life anywhere else in the sea.
These worms have no mouth, no stomach, no eyes, only chemistry and the sea.
Bacteria living inside them convert poison into food, deep beneath the sea.
This is chemosynthesis, life built entirely without sunlight, powered by the sea itself. A gas deadly to us becomes the very fuel of life in the sea. Around one vent, an entire ecosystem rises from nothing but heat and the sea.
The Yeti crab, covered in bristles, farms bacteria on its own arms in the sea. It waves its claws constantly, feeding bacteria in the chemicals rising from the seafloor.
Thousands gather at once, competing for the warmest spot in the cold sea. Even here, competition never stops, a constant struggle beneath the sea. Blind vent shrimp swarm by the thousands, sensing heat instead of light in the sea.
Without eyes, it senses faint heat and glow through a patch on its back beneath the sea.
Life here balances on a knife's edge, inches wide, beneath the crushing sea.
Even octopuses have adapted to this fire and darkness deep within the sea.
Its pale skin has lost all need for color,
in the lightless sea.
She uses the vent's own heat to incubate her eggs within the sea.
Scale worms scavenge quietly among the giants, hidden specialists of the deep sea. The Pompeii worm survives temperatures that would cook any other creature in the sea. A living coat of bacteria may be the reason it survives the boiling sea.
One end near boiling, the other near freezing, a single body split by the sea.
Eyes serve no purpose in a world with no light beneath the sea. It reads the chemistry of the sea itself to find its way forward.
These chimneys rise and fall in decades, temporary monuments beneath the sea. When one vent dies, life simply moves on to the next in the sea.
New vents are born constantly along volcanic ridges deep within the sea. Within days, bacteria arrive first, pioneers of life in the newborn seafloor.
Tube worm larvae drift blindly through the sea, searching for a new home. One larva, one chance, anchoring itself forever to the floor of the sea.
This ridge stretches for thousands of miles beneath the surface of the sea. Here, the Earth itself is splitting apart beneath the floor of the sea. Molten rock lies just beneath the surface of this restless part of the sea.
Eruptions here happen unseen, hidden forever beneath the weight of the sea. Even destruction here becomes fertile ground for new life in the sea.
These bacteria mats may resemble the very first life that ever existed in the sea.
Some bacteria here thrive in temperatures hotter than any other life in the sea.
Some scientists believe life itself began in vents just like this, deep within the sea. Human explorers now study this fire hidden at the bottom of the sea.
Specialized tools measure heat that would instantly destroy ordinary equipment in the sea. Every sample collected here rewrites what we understand about life in the sea. These microbes may hold secrets to medicine drawn from the depths of the sea. Far above, a research ship anchors quietly over this hidden world of the sea.
Eelpout fish, unique to these vents, hunt quietly through the warm currents of the sea.
It has adapted a body built specifically for this narrow world within the sea. This canyon hides one of the largest vent systems ever found in the sea. The water itself seems to shimmer, distorted by heat rising through the sea.
Even anemones have found a way to settle at the edges of this sea.
Life spreads outward from the heat, adapting layer by layer through the sea. This single mat of bacteria may feed an entire community of the sea. The smallest creatures here begin the food chain of this hidden sea.
Even here, predators arrive, drawn by the abundance hidden within the sea. Nothing here is ever truly safe, even beside the fire of the sea. But from above, this oasis glows alone against the emptiness of the deep sea.
Even in death, these chimneys leave behind sculptures carved by the sea itself.
This field went silent centuries ago, a graveyard hidden beneath the sea.
These crystals took centuries to form, hidden treasures of the deep sea.
But nearby, a new vent is already stirring to life within the sea. The cycle begins again, as it has for millions of years beneath the sea. Life is already arriving, drawn instinctively toward the warmth of the sea.
This is a world that never sees daylight, yet never stops living within the sea. Different species share this fragile warmth together, bound by survival in the sea.
Much of this vent field remains completely unexplored beneath the surface of the sea. Each expedition adds another page to what we know about the sea. Even here, faint light drifts by, a quiet reminder of the wider sea. We leave this fire behind, carried onward by the current of the sea. From heat and fire, our journey turns now toward the cold of the sea. Every mile upward, the warmth fades further from this changing sea. Somewhere far north, this same sea turns to ice instead of fire. The Pacific holds both extremes, fire below and frost above the sea. Our next journey rises toward the frozen edges of this vast sea. Above, drifting ice marks the entrance to a colder, harsher sea. Here, survival will mean facing cold instead of heat within the sea. A different kind of extreme is waiting just beyond this sea. Ice now replaces fire as the defining force of this sea.
We descend once more, this time into the frozen depths of the sea.
Few hunters wait beneath this ice, shaped entirely by the cold sea.
Next, we enter the frozen depths of the northern Pacific. That is part 4. Young orcas learn these techniques by watching elders of the sea. The walrus hauls its massive body onto ice drifting across the sea. Its tusks help it climb out of the freezing sea onto solid ice.
We have reached the frozen edge of the sea, the Bering Strait. Here, the sea itself wears a shell of ice for half the year. Light struggles to pass through, painting the sea in shades of pale blue.
Brinicles form as salt drains from freezing ice into the sea below. This finger of ice can freeze the sea floor solid within hours.
Anything caught beneath it freezes instantly in this deadly corner of the sea.
This water sits just below freezing, yet somehow the sea stays liquid. Some fish carry natural antifreeze in their blood to survive this sea.
The Arctic cod thrives where most fish would freeze solid in the sea.
It forms the foundation of an entire food web beneath the frozen sea. Millions gather beneath the ice, feeding nearly everything else in the sea. The harbor seal moves like a shadow beneath this frozen sea.
Its whiskers sense the faintest ripple, tracking prey through the dark sea. It must return to these breathing holes, lifelines carved through the sea's ceiling.
One breath, then back into the hunt beneath this frozen sea. Orcas patrol these icy waters, apex hunters of the frozen sea. Their markings vanish into shifting light and shadow beneath the sea. Together, they create waves powerful enough to sweep prey into the sea. This wave hunting technique is passed down through generations of the sea. Beneath the surface, this giant becomes surprisingly graceful in the sea.
Its whiskers sweep the floor, feeling for clams buried in the sea.
It blasts water to unearth thousands of clams from the floor of the sea. As ice shrinks, herds crowd tightly onto whatever remains above the sea. Beluga whales, pale as the ice itself, thread carefully through the sea. Its rounded forehead helps it navigate the narrow channels of this sea. Sailors once called them sea canaries for their songs beneath the sea.
Every breath here must be found through cracks in the frozen sea. When ice closes too quickly, survival itself becomes a race against the sea.
The polar bear depends entirely on this ice to hunt across the sea. Though built for ice, it swims for miles across the open sea. It waits patiently beside a breathing hole, watching the sea below. A single moment decides survival at the edge of this frozen sea. Each year, this ice retreats further, changing the balance of the sea. Warmer years mean less ice, and less ice reshapes this entire sea. Krill gather here by the billions, the true engine of this cold sea.
Tiny as they are, krill feed nearly every giant of this sea.
The gray whale migrates thousands of miles to feast in this sea. Its baleen strains thousands of krill from a single gulp of the sea. Calves learn this ancient migration route by following their mothers through the sea.
Above the surface, seabirds plunge relentlessly into this bountiful sea.
It becomes a swimmer the moment it enters this frozen sea.
Thousands nest on these cliffs, watching endlessly over the sea below.
Above, the northern lights dance silently over this quiet sea. Even at night, faint light finds its way into this frozen sea. Even land creatures depend on the frozen surface of this sea to survive. It scavenges along the edges where the ice meets the open sea.
The sea itself groans as shifting ice flues collide and crack apart.
Below the surface, the movement of ice reshapes the floor of the sea.
These ridges rise like mountains, carved by the pressure of the sea. Even chaos here becomes shelter for creatures of the sea. The bearded seal takes its name from whiskers built to read this sea.
It digs through soft sediment, feeling its way across the floor of the sea.
Its haunting call travels for miles through the silence of the sea.
The narwhal, unicorn of the sea, carries a tusk longer than itself.
That tusk is actually a tooth, sensitive enough to taste the sea itself.
They travel in tight pods, guided instinctively through this frozen sea.
It dives deeper than almost any whale, chasing prey through this cold sea. The Greenland shark may be the slowest and the oldest hunter of the sea. Some individuals may have lived for centuries beneath this frozen sea. Time itself seems to move slower for this ancient creature of the sea.
Each spring, meltwater floods fresh nutrients into this awakening sea.
This bloom triggers an explosion of life across the entire frozen sea.
From these tiny organisms, an entire food chain rises through the sea.
Fish arrive first, drawn by the sudden abundance filling the sea. Predators from above and below meet here, feasting on this thriving sea. As summer nears, the frozen ceiling of the sea begins to open.
For a few short months, real sunlight finally reaches this hidden sea.
Every creature here rushes to make the most of this brief open sea.
This short season decides survival for the rest of the year at sea.
Daylight barely fades here, giving the sea nearly endless hours of light. This golden window fuels an entire year of life across the sea. But autumn returns quickly, and the sea begins to freeze once more.
Every creature senses the coming cold, racing against the closing sea.
This cycle repeats endlessly, the heartbeat of a frozen sea.
Beyond this ice, the floor of the sea drops away into darkness.
Somewhere far below, the sea holds its deepest secret of all. We leave the ice behind, carried southward across the open sea. Far to the south, the sea hides a place deeper than any other. This is the deepest point on the surface of our sea.
Here, the pressure of the sea becomes unlike anywhere else on Earth. Next, we descend into the deepest trench on Earth. That is part 5.
This is the Mariana Trench, the deepest scar in our entire sea. Nearly 7 miles down, this trench holds the deepest point of the sea.
Here, the pressure could crush a car, yet the sea still holds life.
Only a handful of vessels have ever reached this part of the sea. Robotic landers now explore where no human has stood beneath the sea. This sediment may not have been touched in centuries beneath the sea.
The Hadal snailfish holds the record for the deepest fish in the sea. Its body has no rigid bones, built instead to survive the sea's pressure.
Special molecules inside its cells hold back the crushing weight of the sea. They gather quickly wherever food drifts down through this starving sea. Amphipods swarm by the thousands, scavengers of this starving sea. Some grow far larger here than anywhere else in the sea. Within hours, nothing remains, stripped clean by the scavengers of the sea. This single cell can grow larger than your hand, alone in the deep sea.
It builds an intricate shell from sediment scattered across the seafloor.
These strange gardens may be some of the oldest life forms in the sea.
The sea cucumber moves slowly, but thrives even at the bottom of the sea.
It feeds endlessly on the fine particles drifting through this deep sea.
Some sea cucumbers here can actually swim through the darkness of the sea. It rises and falls slowly, drifting through the emptiness of the sea. Even here, small shrimp find a way to survive the crushing sea. Solid rock here is rare, a small island within an endless sea. Sponges anchor themselves here, filtering whatever drifts through the sea. Its glass skeleton took decades to grow at the bottom of the sea. Currents here move slowly, sculpting patterns across the floor of the sea.
Even at rest, the sea never stops moving, however faintly. Even here, human trace has reached the deepest point of the sea. It took decades to sink this far, a warning drifting through the sea. Each dive here reveals ground never before seen beneath the sea. This single sample may hold clues about the earliest history of the sea. In 1960, explorers first reached the very bottom of this sea. Decades later, only a few more have returned to this deep sea. From inside, explorers describe a silence unlike anywhere else in the sea. Without their lights, this would be complete and permanent darkness in the sea. Few creatures here have ever seen a light not born of the sea. Curiosity, it seems, exists even at the extremes of the sea. Word travels fast in this starving world, however deep the sea. Beyond this light, the sea holds ground no one has ever seen. Something moves just beneath the surface, hidden within the floor of the sea. Even the sediment itself hides secret life within this deep sea. Even at these depths, some fish still choose to move together in the sea. The trench narrows here, the walls of the sea closing in tightly. These walls have stood untouched for millions of years beneath the sea. Hidden minerals line these walls, treasures locked deep within the sea. This flat basin marks the lowest point of the entire sea. This is Challenger Deep, nearly 11,000 meters beneath the sea.
Fewer people have stood here than have walked on the moon above the sea.
Yet even here, at the very bottom, life quietly persists within the sea. Modern explorers now spend hours studying this remotest corner of the sea.
New species still surface from every single dive into this sea.
Instruments left behind now listen constantly to this silent sea. Even here, the earth trembles quietly beneath the floor of the sea.
This trench forms where one plate slides beneath another under the sea.
This bending crust carved the deepest wound across our entire sea. Our journey now turns upward, back through the layers of this sea.
Each mile upward reveals a little more of this vast sea. Familiar lights return slowly, guiding us back through the sea. The same slow snowfall we saw before still drifts through this sea.
Blue light returns first, a promise of the surface of the sea. Old friends of this journey reappear as we rise through the sea. Sunlight returns at last, warm and golden across the sea. From the deepest trench to open water, this is the range of one sea. We surface once more, carried upward by the current of the sea. This same water once touched the deepest trench on Earth's sea. Every drop connects the surface to the deepest point of the sea. Above, life moves freely once more across the open surface of the sea. This single ocean connects every extreme we have witnessed across the sea. From fire to ice, from light to darkness, all part of one sea. Every creature we have met shares this same connected sea. But even calm water can turn violent across the open sea. One final habitat waits at the surface of this restless sea. Here, the sky and the sea prepare for one final storm. This is the open ocean, wild and untamed, above the sea. Even here, life adapts to survive the fury of the open sea.
They ride the coming storm instead of fleeing it across the sea.
Every extreme habitat has led us to this final chapter of the sea. From reef to trench, our journey now returns to the open sea. This final storm will bring our journey full circle across the sea. One last extreme awaits us at the surface of this vast sea.
Wind and water collide violently across the surface of this open sea. We move now into the very heart of this open sea storm. This is the final extreme habitat of our journey across the sea. Everything we have seen has led us to this open, restless sea. Next, our journey ends where it began, in the wild open sea. That is part 6. This is the open ocean, where our journey began and where it ends. No coral, no ice, no trench, just endless water and sky at sea. This may be the most extreme habitat of all, the open sea itself. Here, there is no shelter, no reef to hide behind in the sea. Flying fish burst from the water, gliding above the chaos of the sea. For a few brief seconds, it escapes the surface of the raging sea. Dolphins seem almost to celebrate the raw power of this open sea. Storms rarely trouble a creature built entirely for the open sea. The albatross rides these winds for months without ever touching land or sea. It barely flaps its wings, using the storm's own wind across the sea. Storm petrels seem to walk on water itself, across this restless sea. Sailors once believed they warned of storms brewing across the sea. Just beneath the surface, the fury of the storm barely touches the sea. Below, giants rest undisturbed, indifferent to the storm above the sea. Patience is the greatest survival skill in this vast and shifting sea. Pilot whales travel together, bound by bonds stronger than any storm at sea. Tuna cross entire oceans in a single season, tireless travelers of the sea. Built purely for speed, it never truly rests within this open sea. Even here, far from land, predators still patrol this open sea. The whale shark, the largest fish alive, drifts gently through this sea. Despite its size, it feeds only on the smallest life in the sea. The leatherback turtle crosses entire oceans, guided only by the sea itself. It can dive nearly as deep as a sperm whale within this sea. Floating islands of seaweed drift for thousands of miles across the sea. An entire hidden world drifts silently across the surface of the sea. This floating raft becomes a nursery, adrift upon the open sea. Young turtles find their first shelter adrift on this open sea. As quickly as it came, the storm begins to release this restless sea. Light returns gently, spilling gold across the calming surface of the sea. Calm always follows chaos, an ancient rhythm carried by the sea. Even after the fiercest storm, beauty returns to the surface of the sea. Life returns quickly to the surface once the storm leaves the sea.
In calm water, dolphins play freely across the surface of the sea.
As day fades, the sea prepares once more for its nightly rhythm. As night falls, the surface begins to glow softly across the sea. Every wave now carries its own faint light across the midnight sea. This same glow once lit the deepest trench far beneath this sea. Above and below, the sea and sky mirror each other in light.
Every movement here leaves a trail of light across the glowing sea.
The stars above mirror the countless lives hidden within this sea. Our journey began in warm coral reefs bursting with color and life. It carried us into darkness, where the sea creates its own light. It showed us fire burning quietly at the very bottom of the sea. It froze around us, testing life against the coldest edge of the sea. It crushed us with pressure at the deepest point of the entire sea. And finally, it returned us here, to the open surface of the sea.
Every extreme habitat we explored is part of one single, connected sea.
The ocean does not divide itself. Only we draw lines across the sea. From reef to trench, it beats as one single heart of the sea. Seen from above, its true scale becomes almost impossible to grasp.
This single ocean covers a third of our entire planet's surface.
Yet within it, we found habitats more extreme than anywhere else on Earth.
Scientists continue their quiet work, still learning the secrets of this sea.
Every discovery reminds us how little we truly know about the sea. But we also saw the fragile edges of a changing, struggling sea. Warming waters, rising acid, retreating ice, all reshaping this ancient sea. Yet everywhere we looked, life found a way to endure the sea's changes.
Human hands are learning, slowly, to help heal this wounded sea.
Recovery remains possible, but only if we choose to protect this sea.
Every creature we met depends entirely on the health of this sea.
Their survival and ours are tied together across this single shared sea. This glowing tide reaches even the quiet edges of every coastal sea. Somewhere beyond this horizon, the same extremes continue beneath the sea. This is wild Pacific, an ocean of contrasts, extremes, and endless sea. As night fades, a new day quietly rises over this ancient sea. Every sunrise begins the same endless cycle across this living sea. The reef continues to grow. The trench continues to hold its sea. The vents still burn. The ice still drifts, all within this single sea. This ocean holds more mystery than we may ever fully understand. We have only touched the surface of what this sea truly holds. Somewhere below, new discoveries still wait quietly within this sea. Every creature continues its own extraordinary journey across this sea. And this ocean will keep changing long after our own journey through the sea. From the warmest reef to the coldest ice, it remains one single sea. From the deepest trench to the wildest storm, it remains one sea. Every extreme we witnessed is simply this ocean, being itself. This is wild Pacific, a single sea, endlessly extreme, endlessly alive. Thank you for joining this journey across the ocean's most extreme habitats. This ocean will keep changing, whether we choose to protect it or not. What happens next in this story depends on all of us at sea. From the smallest plankton to the largest whale, all depend on this sea. This has been Wild Pacific, life across the ocean's most extreme sea. May we always remember what lies beneath the surface of our sea. This is our ocean. This is our sea. And its story is far from over.